recently, you know, it's been getting a little violent.
We have a photograph of a head-on collision that you suffered 30 minutes after I leaked more of your information in an article.
Yeah.
And you're very lucky to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been shot at, been stabbed, been jumped by 3 agents, got my butt kicked. I mean, I've been through it all. But I don't believe it was because of that stuff. I think when they knew I went energy, when I started doing more of the energy stuff, they really got angry.
Yeah.
Broke into my house, but I mean, rammed my gate, my concrete gate down, where all this stuff was stored, and, cut into the walls where things and safes were hidden that you can only know by satellite using. These people definitely had perfect satellite imagery of, I know about the satellites very well and the stuff they can do with them, and they can look into every brick and every wall of the house.
The last one is the one that I'm really worried about, and that's the DARPA Hydrogel. Basically, it's nanoparticles, and they have been experimenting with it for 10 years. They wanted to put chips in the brain. They didn't want to have to do surgery, so they came up with this nano hydrogel. As soon as coronavirus hit, they were there. They said it's ready to deploy. And basically what they're going to sell the public is it will alert public health that you are sick before you have that scratchy throat, before you have that cough, before you get a temperature or anything. But it also does many other things. So once this hydrogel gets into your body, it is nanoparticles, so it assembles inside your body. It starts growing and fusing with your cells, your ligaments, your muscles, your bones. So in the old days with the RFIDs, you say, oh, it's not cool, I changed my mind. People got them cut out. This becomes one with you. You can't. But the absolute worst scary part about it is you become one with a computer. You become your own computer interface. You become one with the quantum computer, with your devices, with your smart, anything that you have in your house.
Yeah, this is going to sound pretty weird, but achieve a sort of symbiosis with artificial intelligence. But I think with a high bandwidth brain-machine interface, I think we can actually go along for the ride. And we can effectively have the option of merging with AI.
But our aim is to simplify the procedure, down to the injection of local anesthetic, a very small opening in the skin, a painless opening in the skull below, quick and precise placement of threads into the cortex, and then we fill that hole in the skull with the sensor, allowing the scalp to be closed up over it.
Potentially, with a device like this, you could restore speech to a paralyzed person who's no longer able to talk. But there's no reason in principle that we can't reach all of motor cortex. And that would give us access to any movement that a person thinks about, any movement at all. A person could imagine running or dancing or even kung fu, and we would be able to decode that signal. What Neuralink wants to do is to give people the ability to tap into those representations, to get better access to that information, both to repair broken brain circuits and also to ultimately give us better access to better connections to the world, to each other, and to ourselves.
They're bastions of technology where they can develop things and utilize things we poor peasants on the surface could barely dream of. Their cures and their technology, their weaponry, it's beyond our level of understanding right now.
When Comet Atlas hit the news that it was going so fast and it was going to be so bright and its tail was so long and how fantastic that was, And then it exploded. It was destroyed, and its debris is now floating through space. No one is telling us where. NASA is completely hush on it. JPL, everybody that should be talking about it and informing their citizens about where and what's going on with the debris field of Atlas, not a word. Then we have, at the southern end of the hemisphere, we have this beautiful comet Swan, and we're not hearing a peep about it. And that's just, the silence is so deafening. It is deafening. The silence is screaming at me. Comet Swan falls under this category of unpredictable comets. And I have not heard the term unpredictable comet until we had Oumuamua on the scene. Before that, comets were as predictable as the clock. And so this language that's been interjected in the last 3 years about unpredictable comets. It just is. It's not. It doesn't work for me. There's an issue here. Comet Atlas clearly did not disintegrate. It exploded, and there's a debris field going close to the Earth, and we have no data on that. We have Comet Swan, whose observable brilliance right now is a magnitude of 5, and it's getting brighter, and this should be a news and noteworthy event. It's not. Now go to theskylive.com and track Comet Swan. You're going to see that it's not following its predicted orbit. So it's not following its predicted orbit, it's not following its predicted magnitude, and it is ejecting massive amounts of hydrogen. This is not normal. Comets do not eject hydrogen. So these comets, yes, are not normal. And the explanations that we're not getting from anybody is unacceptable. And then tie this in with the bizarre fact that the UFOs are now acknowledged by the Pentagon. And even more bizarre, nobody's talking about it. Why isn't anybody giving this news the level of attention that it richly deserves? We have unknown spacecraft zooming throughout our planet, manned by people that are obviously not of this planet, and nobody cares. There's this big giant planet that is supposed to be approaching the Earth, and we don't know where it is, what it is, or what's happening, and how. We don't have any word from NASA or JPL or anybody that should be telling us about these details, giving us the full details.
Like, literally, like, Black lives don't matter here. You know, guys, here's the thing. Let me try and put things into context for you, okay? I know not everybody's gonna live. I'm not that fucking green or ignorant or, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to think that, okay? I know we're gonna have a shit ton of people die. But these people aren't dying from COVID. Let me give you several examples here. An anesthesiologist intubated the patients, like, I think it was bronchi and of a patient, and they couldn't get the sats up, and for about 5 hours, like, we were waiting on a chest x-ray to confirm that the placement was wrong. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, and we've told the anesthesiologist that it was placed wrong, because, like, literally only one side of his fucking chest is, like, inflating, he dies. Okay? A patient had a heart rate of 40, and the resident started doing chest compressions on him, which is not what you do. You just externally pace them, or you give him some atropine. And then, I run in there to stop him from doing chest compressions on somebody with a fucking pulse. And then he decides to push epi. He throws some pads on him to defibrillate the guy in bradycardia. Okay, he has a heart rate of 40 and a stable, bradycardic rhythm. We just need to give him some atropine and pace him. He fucking defibrillates him and kills him. And I was literally ran out of the patient's room to get the director of nursing who was standing out there, and I'm like, can you stop him? He's going to kill that patient. He's going to kill that patient if he defibrillates him with bradycardia and a heart rate of 40. And the director of nursing just shook his head, and I turned around and he killed the dude.
More than 240 primary schools in the UK introduced sex ed lessons as part of the All About Me sex program for kids aged 6 to 10. They're teaching about self-stimulation, which encourages kids between 6 and 10 to touch their private parts in bed and the shower. The Touching Myself section advises to tell these young kids that lots of people like to tickle or stroke themselves, as if it might feel nice, including touching their private parts. And then they teach how it's just something that, something we do when we're alone, like picking our nose. Again, these people are sexualizing these kids and prepping them for pedophiles. There's just no other way around this. And these are 6-year-olds, 6 to 10. 6 to 10!
Yeah.
They shouldn't be thinking about that kind of stuff.
These are people that want to F-U-C-K your kids.
Yeah.
Literally. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about
Sick.
This is how they it's proselytizing, right? It's actually sexually assaulting children, traumatizing them in the hopes that it will turn them into one of them.
Went back upstairs to get my bag to leave the hospital because I was thinking this was getting out of hand now. And this time I was okay. Nothing was wrong with me. I didn't have a headache. I only had body pain. That's what took and I knew it was because of the journey I did, or the journey I made. Before going to upstairs and coming down, the hospital had been called off by ambulance with the deputy governor and his team to come and remove me to an isolation center, because that was a community hospital, and I knew, well, whether it was staged or it wasn't staged, Nigerians will judge for themselves. I was taken to isolation center, dehumanized, traumatized, because already my name was in the press and gone all over. I have been videotaped, recorded, and sent on the internet already. 43 days, I'm still forcefully detained. They will be afraid for their lives because nobody will come out. And then the work of the NCDC would not have any effect because people are scared to be stigmatized like I have been done to.